This morning in Living Healthy, if you suffer from common ailments such as Lyme disease or even something as simple as a sinus infection, there's a place that can help you on the path to getting better. We recently dropped by Advanced Cell Training in East Greenwich to learn all about their great work.
If you have a chronic illness like Lyme disease, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, we believe you have cells behaving badly. So it's our goal to get you to train your body at the cellular level to perform just like those people that are not sick.
That cell training is key to it all, and they're the experts.
If we can train the body to do something it was never designed for, why can't we train the body to do what it is designed for if it's not doing it properly? Your immune system is in your DNA. Golfing is not. It's actually easier to train your body to do what it already knows, rather than something totally foreign.
It's an extremely fascinating process that takes commitment.
We rely on three things to be constant with the cells. The cells have memory, the cells have a separate intelligence from the brain, and the cells communicate. So if I can communicate with my nervous system, which controls my musculoskeletal system, why can't I communicate with my immune system, digestive system, respiratory system, and so on? That's what we're doing at ACT. We're communicating with the body at the cellular level.
About 5 years ago, my wife and I had the joy of being introduced to Paul Callahan from some good friends of ours. And over the years, it's been absolutely amazing to see how helpful Paul has been in being able to help not only my wife and I, but also our family and extended family, our dog, and also many friends, and then also patients here at the office. It's been extremely helpful. And Paul's work from a scientific point of view, if one wants to look at Dr. Emoto water memory, we'll give more of physiological examples of water's amazing ability to carry information. And we work with quite a bit of head trauma and light therapy here, and so it's a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And if you want to look at further things related to what Paul's doing from a science point of view, you can look at James Oshman, a biophysicist who wrote a book, Energy Medicine, and see some of the other examples of the subtleties of the amazing design that our Lord spoke into our earth and world and universe. And so we're just so grateful for Paul and his ability to share the gifts he's been given with others for their health and well-being. Thank you, Paul.
Before I go into this method of muscle testing, I want to tell you about one of my clients, because results really matter. And as I said before, it doesn't matter how you get results as long as you do. I don't care if somebody waves a rubber chicken over my head and says abracadabra. If my symptoms get lighter, I'd be crazy not to continue that. I hope you all agree. Okay, so I had this client, she's a therapist, and she had severe pelvic pain. She had it for 20 years. She's 52 years old. And we did the emotion code on her. And I muscle tested her at a distance. This wasn't in my office. I muscle tested her and I found 4 trapped emotions. I found anger, bitterness, hatred, and resentment. So it goes back 20 years to age 32. So I asked her, I said, what the heck happened to you at age 32 with these negative emotions, anger, resentment, hatred, bitterness? She says, oh, I had a hysterectomy. I said, well, what do those emotions got to do with hysterectomy? She said, oh, it was a botched hysterectomy. the doctor nicked a nerve and she bled out internally, and there were complications, and she had a lot of pain, and then there was a malpractice suit. So anger, bitterness, resentment, hatred towards the doctor. And then I tried to release those trapped emotions from her body energetically, and they wouldn't budge. None of those emotions would leave her body. And I said, oh, great. Why wouldn't they leave? Well, that's when my intuition kicked in, and I said, wait a minute. She doesn't forgive this doctor. She doesn't forgive her at all. Not only doesn't she forgive her from her mind, she doesn't forgive her from her heart. So what I've found in my practice is that unforgiveness is a huge obstacle in healing, whether it be emotional or physical. Unforgiveness. It's crucial. And I asked her, I said, can you forgive this doctor? She said, oh no, I'm not forgiving that B-I-T-C-H. I said, well, get used to the pain, because you're going to have it for the rest of your life if you don't forgive that doctor. She says, what? I said, yeah, you got to forgive that doctor if you want to get rid of that pain. She said, you're crazy. I hate you. She knew I was right at that point. That's why she hated me. So I convinced her to at least try to forgive this doctor. And through her intentions alone, now her body released all 4 of those trapped emotions from her body. Anger, bitterness, resentment, and hatred. Boom. And she had a lot of pelvic pain. So on a scale of 1 to 10, she was like an 8 when I spoke with her. So at the end of the 90-minute session, I asked her, I said, how's the pain now? She says, I don't know, let me get up and walk around. So she did. She got up and walked around. And she said, you know, maybe it's just coincidence.
Where's she from?
Where's she from? I can't tell you that.
Oh, okay. You get an accent. All of a sudden there was an accent. Like, is she down south or something?
She is.
Okay,
She is.
okay.
She is down south. But I don't like to use her name in this
Right, I hear you.
story or where she's from.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after we released it, she walked around and she said, yeah, it actually is not as bad. So on a scale of 1 to 10, it was an 8 when we started. Now it's down to like 5 or 6, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a text from her the next day, 50% better. Whoa, that's awesome. And then I get a message a week later. Pain's gone. 20 years she's been suffering with this pelvic pain because she holds a grudge against the doctor. She wouldn't forgive her. So we release those trapped emotions, and boom, bye-bye symptoms, bye-bye pain. Just like that.
How much do you charge? I'm that serious.
Yeah, how much do you charge?
It's on his website.
I have, on my website there, have you given them the website?
Yes.
Hey, you can write it down on your website so we can.
Yeah. So
What?
you need contact with
You can come up to the front and everybody can get a card.
I know the people who pay attention.
Well, hello. My name is Andy Martinson, and I wanted to share my journey towards better health, which very much involved Mr. Paul Callahan, who has become really a good friend over the last few years. I have been trained in traditional medicine type of training, and for me, it wasn't easy to make the switch to holistic type of medicine, but I am so grateful and I'm so glad that I did. I'm so grateful that God led us, my family and I, to Paul. I really don't know how else I would have gotten better. In July of 2020, I came down with these debilitating, severe, very much unexplained symptoms. If somebody would ask me, what's wrong with you? I would have just told them, I feel very, very sick, like to the point of dying. But I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't have any sneezing, I didn't have any fever, no normal symptoms. I ended up going to all kinds of doctors, and they did all kinds of tests. They tested me for everything under the sun. Well, they started with COVID. I was negative. They wanted to get me tested again and again and again, which I thought was foolishness. So they tested me for everything else, even more esoteric stuff like heavy metals. I have a stack of papers an inch thick with blood tests that tell me that I'm healthy, and yet at that time I really was feeling like I'm done for. I was referred to Paul by a relative of mine, and I'm so glad that he did. I had my first appointment with Paul where he muscle tested me, and he called it right away. He said that I had Lyme disease, and Lyme disease is no joke. He treated me with ACT codes, frequencies, and emotional work for about a year and a half. Yeah, maybe about a year and a half to 2 years. And about a year and a half ago, he actually declared me Lyme-free. There was a lot of back and forth, there were a lot of ups, there were a lot of downs, and he told me up front, he said that there will be a lot of 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And then eventually we'll get to the point where we'll take 3 steps forward and no steps back. And so after a couple of sessions, I actually noticed a difference. And I thought, okay, well, this is fantastic. This stuff actually works. And I'm just so grateful for Paul, because really, I don't know what I would have done without him. He also helped my wife a lot. She had endometriosis for, well, as long as we've been married, and we've been married for 21 years. And it's gotten to the point where she couldn't twist her torso. It hurt so much. And when I started seeing Paul, I said, well, why don't you talk to him, have an appointment with him? And she did. At first, he needed to do some emotional work with her. And then once that was done, he started working on endometriosis. And it took about 3 months. And he got rid of it in about 3 months. I recall one day I said, you know, you haven't complained about your stomach pain in a while. And she just gave me this wild look and she said, I haven't had any pain. So I'm grateful to God that he led us to Paul. Thank you, Paul. I always tell people if they have maladies like Lyme disease, endometriosis, things that are more chronic that medicine doesn't know what to do with, that's right up Paul's alley. Thank you, Paul.
Same thing happened months later. She was delayed in her speech. Sophia was only saying mama, dada, when other kids were stringing together sentences and had a vocabulary of like 30 words. So Shannon came to me and said, Dad, can you do that thing again? I said, sure, I'll do that thing again. And this time there was no inherited trapped emotions. This time the muscle test identified birth trauma. And this was because Sophia was born with the cord wrapped around her throat. And every time Shannon pushed, Sophia's heart rate would go up because the cord was tightening every time Shannon pushed. So that's where the trauma was. Where does that speech come from? Vocal cords, larynx. So all the trapped emotions were stored in the throat area. So we released those. And I didn't do it on her physically because she was in bed sleeping. So I did it by proxy that night. And then the next morning, Shannon, I let her sleep in and I took the baby downstairs. And I had her play this game where she throws these colored balls up against the wall. And then I tell her which ball to get and bring back to me. And she knows all her colors. She can't see them, but she knows all her colors. So I said, give me the red one. She brings me back the red one. So we're playing fetch. I said, give me the green one. She brings me back the green one. I said, give me the purple one. She grabs the purple one, brings it back, puts it in my hand, and says, purple. Shannon, wake up! She's talking! So Shannon comes down and says, what'd you say? What'd you say? I said, she said purple. She said, Sophia, say purple. She was just said it for me. So later that night, she's saying purple like crazy, and then she's saying blue, and then she's saying red. And before you know it, she's got a vocabulary of 30 words after a week and a half.
We just wanted to share our experience that we had with Paul.
Working with Paul.
Yeah, and sharing how absolutely miraculous it was, and it still is.
Yes.
So yeah, in just actually like 3 sessions, it completely transformed our lives.
Transform our life
Completely.
completely.
It's crazy. Like we both actually have been working a lot on with so many coaches, so many
For
courses
years
for years. We
and
felt so
years.
stuck
We've never experienced such a huge shift
in
such a
short
short amount of time.
and also like just the I think it's especially due to Paul's dedication and incredible light and super high vibration.
Not only his dedication,
Yeah.
but the efficiency, like the
Efficiency of
of
his
his
work is just
is
incredible. Mind-blowing.
Every time
Yeah.
we had a session, after the session,
We had big release,
big
but,
releases, big awakenings.
yeah.
But a lot of people at the end of a session, like 60, 90-minute session, they report feeling lighter, happier, more calm and peaceful. And that's not uncommon. A lot of them have symptom reduction, so I ask them before the session starts, what's your neck pain right now, scale of 1 to 10? And they'll say, well, it's about a 6 right now. And at the end of the session, I ask them again. And often it goes down a couple of notches, and sometimes it just goes away. Because that neck pain is not from something structural. It's from your mother-in-law. Oh, you think I'm kidding?
Literally.
I'm not kidding.
Literally.
This is my baby girl, Millie. And it's almost 6 years now since we met Paul Callahan. It was a really scary time for us. Millie was losing weight quickly. We had recently lost our golden doodle, Lacey, who she loved so much, and she stopped eating and just got skinnier and skinnier. And I had a couple of veterinarians, without even testing to see what was wrong, they were telling me she has cancer and I would have to put her to sleep. Now I knew there was just something inside of me. I knew that Millie did not have cancer. And I just knew, I knew she was not dying. She did not have cancer. So I was doing energy work with somebody I knew, and she referred me to the balancing numbers and Lloyd Meir. And so I called the phone number and I spoke with his wife, and she immediately referred me to Paul. And we set up an appointment, and I am not lying when I say probably within 30 seconds to 60 seconds, he knew exactly what was happening with Millie. And here we had veterinarians telling me she had cancer and would not be able to live any longer. Within 30 seconds, Paul said, Millie has parasites, and it's a very bad infestation in her intestines. 30 seconds is all it took for him to read into her energy. So he gave us balancing numbers that I put on her water, and we did some emotion code. Within a few days, she started eating. She started acting herself within a couple of weeks, and within 3 to 4 weeks, Millie started gaining her weight back. And I am forever, eternally thankful and grateful that I was able to and was referred to Paul. And he saved Millie's life, and she was able to live several more years into being almost 15 after that. We worked together almost every month from that point on. And now that Millie has passed, I continue working with Paul for my health and wellness. And if you're looking for support in any area of your life, call Paul. He's your practitioner with all of his gifts and all of his modalities he has and his sense of humor. Call Paul and he will assist you, and you will not regret it.
Our bodies have the innate ability to heal themselves. So it just needs the proper guidance to do so. So if you can get the body back in balance, it can't help but heal itself. Hey, the subconscious mind holds answers to all the questions you ask. But the muscle test is only as good as the questions you ask. So any good detective knows if you don't ask the right questions, you're not getting the right clues, therefore you're not solving the crime. If you can learn how to muscle test, whew, it makes life so much easier. And I can use this dowsing rod, or I can do it manually. Now, I'm going to show you the manual method on Miss Suzanne.
Yes.
Okay, so you can this way so you can see it there. All right, now face me. Okay. So the first thing I do is get a baseline, make sure that you are testable. So I want you to put out your right arm, and I want you to resist as we ask a question. We're going to ask a question that everybody knows the answer to. Okay? We're going to see. Now, you're going to give resistance, but not Hercules, okay? Just normal resistance. And I'm going to ask a question. And if we get strength, that means yes. If we get weakness, it means no. So here's strength. I'm going to say yes, strength. And here's weakness. No. So we can get true or false from the subconscious, yes or no from the subconscious. All right? But there's no multiple choice. Okay, I wish there was. It would make things so much easier. All right, so is your name Sally? Weakness, that's no. Is your name Suzanne? Strength. Get into yes. Okay. So, are we in Hudson, New Hampshire? No. Are we in Lawrence, Massachusetts? Strong. See, that's muscle testing. You just ask questions and you get answers. Your subconscious is sending a message down your arm, right to your wrist and hand, to either stay strong for yes or relent for no. Now let me go to this whiteboard. Some of you saw me drawing on that. You've probably seen analogies with an iceberg before. So, tip of the iceberg is your conscious mind. The Goliath below the surface is your subconscious mind. And this is where I play, below the surface. But the great thing is that when you muscle test, you're not just dipping into someone's subconscious mind. You are tapping into universal knowledge. That's the ocean that this is submerged in. So we can find out things that your subconscious doesn't know the answer to, and mine doesn't either. Example of that, this woman in Portland, Oregon called me and said she had food poisoning. And through my experience, I know that it's likely toxins. It's not bacteria or parasite. So I fully expected to be taken to my manual to the area for toxins, and my muscle test took me to the category for vitamins. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. And I'm thinking, maybe my muscle test is off, I need to clear my energy. I was doubting my own muscle test. And I had a voice at the back of my head saying, don't doubt the muscle test. It's highly accurate. I said, okay, I'm gonna go with it. So I start muscle testing all the vitamins. Vitamin A, nope. Vitamin B, nope. Vitamin C, nope. Vitamin E, nope. Vitamin D, boing. Vitamin D increase. So I'm like, what's that got to do with food poisoning? This woman's very sick. So I went to Google. I put in vitamin D connection with food poisoning. And up popped all these search results, and the top one was the doctor's blog. And the article's title read, Rampant Increase in Food Poisoning Due to Vitamin D Deficiency. I didn't know that. My client didn't know that. How the hell did the muscle test know that? Universal knowledge. Your subconscious is connected to that vast ocean that is universal knowledge. If you ask the right questions through the muscle test, there's nothing you can't get in return. The body will respond, yes or no, true or false, but it's not going to go gray areas. It's not going to give you multiple choice. So you got to know what questions to ask, and that comes through in experience and intuition.
Stress that we used to have, and me also, like the fears, I used to have very, very strong anxiety just coming out was really hard for me, and now it's like yay, like it's like opening to a new world. It's just we don't understand how it happened, but it's like that's why it's magic.
Absolute magic.
And he again, his dedication like changes everything, because he's still like he's so dedicated to get the person the transformation, that I think it's also it influences a lot actually the results that you get. Like you can see how he's putting all his heart in his work, and it's so rare to find coaches that are so dedicated and that are not there just
that's
for
why
the money.
Working with Paul is not just like investing in yourself. It's just like,
and also like the pleasure of connecting with such a beautiful soul.
with him, and the results, especially like we've been wasting thousands and thousands and thousands on people like never getting results, and here you can be sure that it's not only Paul, it's God working through Paul.
It's like a shift on every level, physical, emotional, spiritual, all level. So
Alright,
this
so
is
thank
the
you
best
so
decision.
much again, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. We love you so much.
God bless you. Keep blessing your family and everyone around you, because you are so amazing, and we are
Thank you for your life.
infinitely grateful that our path met
Forever.
And we hope you can keep sharing your magic with everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank
Amen.
you. Amen.